Already recording. Okay, guys. So today, hopefully we'll have time to do this, but I want to sort of build on the last logo exercise where we started using like adjustment layers in order to like do some non-destructive editing. There's this whole other layer of Photoshop editing, which gets into the kind of graphic design realm, which incorporates vector graphics. Maybe we'll go into that in more depth. I don't have a kind of PowerPoint today. Vector graphics, though, are the kind of polar opposite to the standard way that we've been dealing with images. We've been dealing with with images that are basically a grid of pixels. And for now, all we have to know is that vector graphics are not actually based on pixels, but it's actually like a geometric equation. So when we make our text, you may have noticed that no matter how many times you resize your text, it always looks nice and crisp. And that's because it's vector-based graphics, which isn't made of like the little building blocks. It's actually a series of directions of color and shape and relative size and whatnot. And you can kind of shape it and edit it forever without it degrading. And vector graphics aren't good for everything. They're actually a little bit harder to work with. And we don't really have to worry about them now. We'll get a little deeper into it. But for now, just know that we're going to play a little bit with vector graphics today to create vector masks, because they're also a good way to mask other images and be able to kind of edit those masks and edit things later on. Another non-destructive editing way. So here's like the mask I cut out. It's kind of ugly, but I welcome you to make any kind of mask you want. In order to get here, there's a pretty important type of thinking that we need to do, and that's how the size of things on the screen relates to the size of the printed image in the world. And it's not the easiest thing to think that way, especially when you're trying to size a printout for your head. Now we know that this paper is this size, and we're going to be printing on this 13 by 19 paper today to create the mask. It more or less covers anybody's face, and it could be this way or this way. And I'm going to say like you can use up to one of these sheets of paper to make your mask, and you can use however many sheets of paper printed up on here on this laser printer to make your mask if you want to make a mask that's more complicated, that has multiple parts. We don't have time to get as deep into it as I would love for us to get into it. But I've created a mask with like a couple parts. Here's like a bird beak that I haven't finished assembling the mask, but here's my assembled bird beak. And I just sort of was thinking, oh, like I can make these two shapes that kind of tape together and make a bird beak. I don't know. And then there's my basic mask up top. Yours doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be one thing. But I want to play around with textures and gradients today. Some transitions of colors, smooth transitions of colors, gradients. To start out, I'd like you all to start out by creating a composition. And for those of you who have a little bit of trouble starting out with the right image size, let's do it together. It's going to be, you can do it horizontally oriented or vertically oriented. Let's do 18 by 12. So that'll fit nicely on our 19 by 13 sheet of paper. 18 by 12. We just like, there's always margins. I mean, supposedly this thing could do seamless, but I never trust it. So we'll just keep within our margins. You can, yeah. And let's do it at 300 ppi. And let's work in CMYK. Background content's white. So I've done mine in horizontal this time. I don't want to do it in horizontal. I want to do it in vertical. Okay, I want to do it in vertical. We're doing it in vertical. So now, like, how does this relate to, I can zoom in. I have no sense of how it relates to like size in the actual world. One way to actually have be able to judge how large this image is going to be in the world is to turn on rulers. There's a lot of different cool metrics for being able to kind of measure things accurately. But if you go into View, and you go into, you can click on Rulers, and you can see on the top side and the left side of your image, this nice like ruler will come up. And it should be set in inches already. But you can also set it in like pixels or whatever, but I don't think that will help you. Only inches will help you. And if you zoom your image in, you can see that the rulers adjust. And this image will, this ruler will always represent this top side is 12 inches. I'm going to ask you, you can just kind of guesstimate. I brought a few measuring devices. I only brought what I had on hand in my studio, so it's not the best way to measure a face. But I had this this is all my painting stuff for my studio, so I'm sorry about the messiness. But I started off by measuring my head, and I measured my head as surprisingly only 6 inches wide by 10 inches tall. And so I tried to represent that. I wanted like an outline in my head so I could like draw the mask on top. And so what I did is, I'm going to turn the lights off because these thin lines are hard to see sometimes. What I did was I actually created some guidelines, which are just basically like markings, like notations, so that I can use them to like measure, but they won't end up in your print. And it's pretty easy to bring in a guide. You can do that by like clicking, like with your move tool, just clicking from your ruler and dragging down onto the page. I'm going to start here. Let's see. I'm starting like 2 inches. No, I'll start 4 inches, whatever. And I decided that my head was 10 inches tall, so I'll create the bottom of my head at 14 inches. So that's like the height of my head. And now the width I'm going to drag from the left side here. I decided that my head was 6 inches wide. I'm going to start like 2.5, and then plus 6 is 8.5. Okay, so that's my head. Maybe that doesn't look right. You can always guess again. I don't know. So now I want to draw just like a little outline of my head. And here's where I begin using vector graphics. If you go down, where is it? I always lose sight. Okay, down here on your toolbar, above the little hand tool, is a tool that includes like rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, and these are all just basic shape tools. And I'm going to go to my ellipse tool. And now you can draw these in a number of different ways. You can just draw them in pixels if you want, but we're not going to do that. We're going to draw them as shapes. And you can see up here in the tool properties inspector, there's a fill. This is the color that will be inside whatever shape you draw. And I'll make it like a light blue. Stroke. So this is the outline of the shape you're going to draw. There's kind of a different language for vector graphics, and I hope this isn't too confusing. But I'm just going to actually draw an ellipse that represents my head. I'm going to go to the top corner here, and I'm just going to draw this ellipse like that, representing my head. No biggie. It looks kind of oblong and wonky. I have done a lot of study of like figure drawing, anatomy. I know that kind of the head is a little bit different proportions. If I wanted to draw the head really accurately, I would do something like this to represent like the back of the cranium, which is much wider in the back. But I don't really, not quite that wide, but I don't really care about that. I just want to get like the sense of the front of the head. And I also measured, an important measurement too is the measurement between the centers of both of my eyes, which I judge to be about between 4 and 4.5. Just so I know where to cut the eye holes for the mask. And so I know you might not believe me, but the eyes actually, if you measure where the eyes are in the vertical relation to the skull, they're actually midway down the skull, midway between the chin and the top of the head. You may not believe that, but it's true. So So I'm going to go there. 4 plus, okay, plus 5. Okay, so there's midway. And I'll just draw in some new guys. Also with this tool, I'm just going to make them, fill them in with white. Oh, here's an important thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull in a guide to represent the center line. You'll notice that these guides will kind of snap into place. So I'm just going to draw some eyes. I'm gonna kind of guesstimate. They're about here. You can do like further kind of measurements. Okay, here's kind of like a representation of my face. Not a good likeness, but okay. So, you know, and the testing ground will be when you print it out and you discover that it's awful or perfect or something. Okay, so now I have my basic proportions. So making the actual mask, what I'd like you to do is don't just go with like a picture of what you want, because that's a little bit deceptive. It might look good as an image, but it won't necessarily look good when it folds around your face or it sits on your face. So I think what I'd like you to do is just like Google some texture, like animal textures or something, or like whatever you want to do. Up to you. And you can, once again, you can also like sort this search by file size, and of course a larger file size will probably be, will probably make for a better mask. And so I just dragged my Google search file. Ooh, that was what? Okay, so that wasn't what I wanted to do. I just dragged the thumbnail, I guess. So this says it's a 4,000 by 3,000 file size. Let's, oops, copy image. So get that into Photoshop however you're comfortable doing it. Okay, so now I have this, whatever. I mean, like one thing you might want to do is like, size it whatever size you want. I'm just transforming it in the way that you all know how to do. And you might want to actually copy this layer and then mirror it if you want to like a symmetrical thingamabob. Point is that you have, some imagery, and I should get my eye up. I should get, I guess what I'll put all my vector drawings back there, and then I'll turn the opacity of these down, maybe just so I can see my face behind it. Okay, there we go. So at this point, if we wanted to create the shape of our mask, you could do what you did for the logo last week, create a layer mask. This is going to be difficult, and it's natural, it's normal to balk a little bit at this, working with vectors. But I like to drop you into the deep end of the pool rather than inching our way in. So I'm actually going to make these two texture masks just one. I'm going to merge down the top layer so these are both one layer. And so now I have this layer selected. I would like to create what am I creating? A vector mask that hides everything, hide all. It's gone. And it's very much, you can notice on your layer palette here, it's added this new adjustment layer thing to our texture. Now if you want to, you can draw once again with one of these tools. I'm going to click on this ellipse tool, but I actually don't want to draw with the ellipse. Where are my other options? I want to draw a custom shape. Do I want to draw a custom shape? No, I don't want to draw a custom shape. I could draw an ellipse. Okay, so check this out. If I drew an ellipse, oops. No, that's not working. Okay, what I want to edit this this vector layer. Okay, so I guess what I got to do is go to my other tool. The next tool we want to use is the pen tool. And I think this is the way I want to be doing it. Let's see. Okay. And I guess you can't do it with a custom shape. Okay. I'll go through what I just did. The pen tool is like the more pure, purest way of drawing with vector. We were just drawing with vector graphics with our shape tool. Yeah. And another way of drawing with vector is with this pen tool. If you want to try to draw your mask with this ellipse tool, you can change it from drawing a shape, which has all this information about fill and stroke and everything, to just drawing a path. And that will define the area, like the window through which we see our textured image. It defines like the shape of the mask, and you can see that on the right here, that circle is represented. The better way to do it, or like the way that gives you more options, is to click on that pen tool, like so. And let's see, Photoshop 6. I'm using Photoshop 5, so forgive the moment where I'm... Okay, well, we'll start... Okay, so there's pen tool and there's freeform pen tool. Maybe start out just drawing with the freeform. This is pretty much like just drawing with the paintbrush. You can kind of draw whatever shape you want. And then when you close it, it creates the mask. Okay, so another way to use the pen tool is the way that's like a little counterintuitive. But this is the more kind of precise way to draw. Just try this out. You click a point, and then you click another point, and it draws a straight line, right? Pretty precise way to draw. So you can easily make a kind of geometric mask shape if you want. But if you click a point and hold down your button, it starts to curve things. And it's really awkward at first. And for me, it's forever awkward. This is not my native state of thinking. I'm a pixel. I'm a pixel person. So it's like now how do I edit it? This is non-destructive editing. How do I even edit it? Like, you think you can kind of drag it? You can drag the whole layer. How do I edit this thing? There's another move tool that's just for paths, and it's down here under the type tool. We're gonna have time to kind of go over this stuff. But there's this other selection tool. I can actually select. I can click on the layer now and move it around. And look at this. When I select with this other move tool, it moves the layer, the vector mask, on top of the layer rather than moving the whole thing. Wonky, right? So, say I want to change the shape of this path or this vector image. Under this move tool, this path selection tool, they call it, is a direct selection tool. And I can actually click on the path I've just drawn and move one point. Okay? And it's like this one's like just two straight lines. What if I want to make it curved like the other one, like this other area on the left side? Well, you can. Under the pen tool, you have something called convert point tool. And if I click on that tool, I can click on a point and change it to a curve. By clicking and holding, it changes to curve points. And I can change back to a straight point. Did anyone take geometry? It's kind of like that. So it's not, it's not going to be intuitive at first, but I encourage you to delve in, because this kind of drawing is really important in the design world. This is a first step into, if you haven't used it before, if you've used it, then whatever, you know what you're dealing with. But if you haven't, I encourage you to play. Okay, oh yeah, important. Once you have a rounded curve here, you'll notice these handlebars, and you can actually drag the handlebars to control the sharpness, the kind of acuteness of the curve. Drag those handlebars around, okay? So there's a lot more you can do, and you're basically doing your edits between the path selection and direct selection tool and everything that's in here, the pen tool, the freeform pen tool. If you click on the pen tool and you want to like make the form a little more complicated, you can kind of, well, you need to select it too. So it's always a pain. You need to select it, and then you have your pen tool, and now the little icon under the pen changes to a plus sign, and you can add a new anchor point, which is what these are called. Bless you. It's a pain in the ass to figure this stuff out, but try it out. And then I can always select my new anchor point with the direct selection tool, change it around. Okay. Any questions at this point? Okay. I'll give you time to do that, but I would like you to also explore today. That's mainly the gist, and you can build a mask with multiple layers of like texture, multiple shapes. I guess I'll just show you how I would do a symmetrical mask. Whoops. Am I going too fast? Okay.